Welcome to the 9th lecture on population, topic 3.9, demographic transition. We're going to be able to define what demographic transition means, and this is basically the transition from high to low birth rate and death rate based on what is happening to the economy. In other words, it's a relationship between population and economic development. We're going to be able to explain the environmental concepts, processes, or models for this unit. That's one of the big things we need to do for this unit. So with industrialization, one of the things that has to happen in industrialization is it's the economic and social transition from a farming economy to an industrial, manufacturing-based economy. In a pre-industrial, less developed country has not made the change from agriculture to industry. In other words, they're expecting to have 4 or 5 kids to be able to help run the farm. They're going to have 4 or 5 kids because there's not a lot of medical. Very, very poor countries, high death rate and high infant mortality because there's no or little medical service. The total fertility rate for replacement children is very, very high. Why? Because of the agriculture, and it's high because kids die and they're needed for the agriculture. In industrializing or developing, they're partway through the transition, and the death rate and the infant mortality are going down. The GDP is going up, therefore they're making more money. In industrialize or develop, they have completed the transition, therefore it's very low death rate and infant mortality. In other words, they figure out, hey, we don't have as much kids, and we're going to have very, very high gross domestic product. A lot of money available for everyone. Low total fertility because they're realizing, hey, not agriculture. We do not need 7 kids to help go and collect all the crops. So around the world, we can see where these things are. The developed countries are found in North America, Europe, Australia. The developing countries include the yellow. The least developed countries are the red. There. So if we look here, we're going to be first looking at stage 1, where we have high birth rate and high death rate. And the total population, there's no growth rate because the birth rate is basically equal to the death rate. So this is stage 1, pre-industrial. It has a high infant mortality, high death rate due to lack of access to the clean water, stable food supply, and health care. They're not available. High total fertility rate is due to lack of access to education for women. Women need the education so that they know about contraceptives and how to plan the number of kids they want to have. They also need kids for agriculture. They need them to be able to bring in the crops, plant the crops, take care of the animals. There's little or no growth because the crude birth rate and the crude death rate balance each other out. Currently, there's very, very few people on the planet in phase 1. Okay? Very few countries in phase 1 anymore. In phase 2, we can see that there's going to be a still increase in high birth rate, decreasing death rate, and the population will start to go off. Why? We're starting to become modern. It brings access to clean water, health care, and stable food supplies. The infant mortality and crude death rate both decline because of the allowed availability of the health care, clean food, and stable food. The total fertility rate, however, stays high due to lack of education for women, lack of contraceptives and family planning, and they're still thinking, hey, I need a lot of kids to take care of me when I get older. However, the kids are going to survive. There is still some need for agricultural labor, and there's a generational lag. In other words, it takes time for education and society to change this. Therefore, there's a huge growth rate. Death rate has gone down, birth rate is still high, and therefore the number of people in the country are going to go way up. Some of the economic and societal indicators is a low per person gross domestic product. There's a shorter life expectancy, high infant mortality rate still, high total fertility rate, because they're still thinking we need to have lots of kids. And it's still low literacy rate and school life expectancy for girls. What? They're just girls. Who cares? Wrong. Okay, in stage 3, you can see that things are falling, both the birth rate and death rate. Why? We have a modern economy and society where the family income has increased, so total fertility rates, the families are starting to figure out we don't need tons of kids because we do have a lot of more money. There are more educational opportunities for women, therefore they are understanding. Also, there's a delayed age of marriage. They're not getting married at age 14 and 15. They're waiting after they get married to have their first kid, and because they want to focus on their education, going to college, and or their career. They have access to family planning and contraceptives, and therefore they're able to plan when they want to have their kids. The growth rate is decreasing because as the crude birth rate drops, it gets closer and closer to crude death rate. Some of the societal indicators is a high GDP, long life expectancy because of medicine, low infant mortality rate because of medicine. The total fertility rate is close to, if not equal to, 2. The high education and school expectancy for all. Therefore, people are understanding what's going on. They know what's going on around them. In stage 4, this is called the post-industrial, highly developed countries. They're highly modernized countries. They're very, very high influence. Total fertility rate decreases more where it gets below 2.0. Why? Because we have wealth and we're able to spend more time with the kids and it's more time on education and career pursuits. Because increased wealth and education, it's very, very prevalent because of family planning and contraceptive. The crude birth rate drops even lower and closer, if not below, the crude death rate. Therefore, we have a negative growth rate seen in some countries. The economic and societal indicators is a very high income, long life expectancy, total fertility rate below 2, high contraceptive rates. And we can see here, putting it all together, that the pre-industrial stage 1 has a pyramid that is very much broad-based. Developed countries, it's becoming more of a pyramid as opposed to huge on the bottom, heavy with the kids. Developed, we're starting to be leveling out, and highly developed, we're getting basically the vertical or inverted population pyramid. So, a practice FRQ, practice 3.9. If we look at this graph, graph, we can you identify the stage in this graph in which population grows the fastest? And can you explain the reason for this rapid growth? Can you describe one economic or society indicator of a country in that phase? Thank you.